Hello, my name's Carol Sherriff. I'm a member of the International Association of Facilitators and have been working on facilitation and collaboration for more than 20 years. Today, I continue my conversation with Adam Kahane about collaboration and facilitation and the role we can play in supporting different groups. I particularly wanted you to talk about the facilitator if you're part of the problem.
Well, this thing about the role of the facilitator, I think it's another one of these polarities. And the way I've been writing about it is that the following two statements are both true and both useful. The facilitator is a part, one word, A-P-A-R-T, and the facilitator is also a part, two words. And they're both true. Now, if you insist on only taking the first position, I'm a part, I'm an outsider, I'm here to help, that's not necessarily bad, but it's limited. And in the end, you will have a limited influence. And it's important to realize that and to not imagine that you're doing more than you are. But if you can also work with the way in which you're part of the whole, and there would be a number of ways of thinking about that, but I think the most important is the one you've mentioned, which is that in this room or on this video conference, I'm part of the dynamic of what's happening, and what I do affects what happens, and I need to take responsibility for that, and I need to be tuned in that, for example, I may sense something happening that has not been articulated, but that is real and that we need to work with. And also, how am I, for example, replicating the authority structure or power structure or oppression or exclusion or discrimination or silencing of the group, et cetera, et cetera. So just, I think this is becoming clearer to me as we talk about it, that asking the question, in what ways am I a part, two words, is really important. And it's the question more than any specific answer which is crucial. Bill Tolbert, who's written a lot on leadership, once said to me, he said, you know that old 60s expression, if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem? He said, that's actually not the important point. The important point is if you're not part of the problem, you can't be part of the solution. If you can't see how what you're doing is contributing to things being the way they are, then by definition, you have, there's nothing you can do about the situation except from the outside by force. So I've been saying this for years because it really struck me. But I think the difficult part of that is, okay, so where does the facilitator play into that? Because I think our tendency and habit as facilitators, or our default as facilitators, say, well, we don't actually have anything to do with this. We're from outside. We're just helping them, which is true and helpful in a way, but it's also not true and unhelpful in certain ways. So first of all, in the group itself, of course, what we do is affecting what happens, and we have to take responsibility for that. And also, we may well be dealing with a situation where we're emblematic of part of the way things are. In this new book, I recount the story of facilitating in my home country of Canada, a group of First Nations, Native Canadians. I was very happy to be coming home, knowing all this international stuff that I could now do where I'm from. And it quickly became clear that they didn't at all see me as from outside the situation. On the contrary, had a lot of difficulties with the group. They didn't trust me at all because they saw me very much as representative of the thing, of the problematic situation. So, yeah. So for the facilitator, this question of what is my role in this situation, either in the group or in the larger situation, and what do I need to do differently? Because ultimately, for the facilitator and for everybody else, the only thing, literally the only thing I can change is what I'm going to do next. And so we have to keep coming back to this. What am I going to do next?
So can I pick your brains on this notion of power? Because I think as facilitators, we sometimes just almost ignore the fact that we work with power, both, the power, I'll call it in the room. It's not always a physical room, but also we have power ourselves. I wonder, how do you, because I know you put power and love together, which is, that blew my mind when I first read about it too. How do you think about maybe power and then love?
Yeah, so I've thought about it a lot, and I think it's very central in facilitation. The role of power, the role of love, the role of justice. This trio is what I've been playing with a lot recently, and I wrote a previous book called Power and Love. And I think these are great words and very useful, but of course, because they're also words that are used commonly, they have all kinds of different definitions. And if you're not clear about the definitions, it's hard to make much progress. So I use a very particular set of definitions. And for power, I use the definition that power is the drive of everything living to realize itself. So the drive to get things done, the drive to grow, to express oneself, and the starting point for me, I had a friend who said to me a long time ago, he said, "You seem to be quite down on power. Don't you realize that literally nothing happens without power?" So this to me was really helpful, that it's true. Literally nothing will move in the world without that kind of energy of growth and expression and ambition and purposefulness. The difficulty is that if I'm trying to get something done, if I'm trying to get somewhere, and I'm ignoring you or not paying attention to you or don't think you matter or don't feel connected to you, and I run right over you, I steamroll over you, then that becomes power over. And so when people say, I don't like power, or I don't think we should be using power, I think they're meaning only the degenerative side of power, the power over. So, and many of us in facilitation got into it because the degenerative side of power, the power over, the steamrolling power, the bossy expression of power produces such terrible things in the world. Really, there's no limit to how bad things can get, that we say, okay, well, we're not going to deal with power. And that, I think, is a fundamental error. So yes, I'm very interested in the expression of power, the employment of power, the legitimate use of power by the people in a group or the people in a system, and by the facilitator. For the facilitator just, sit on the side and not do or say anything, this is really not useful, no. Now, so what I think's required is power with love. So power with connection. So that I'm doing something, I'm expressing, I have an ambition, I have something I'm proposing. You can even see it in my body language. You know, I'm asserting, I'm aspiring, but to do it in a way with connection and with a recognition of in a way that legitimates your power as well. And that's where the justice comes into it. How can we use power in a way that where the power of one does not extinguish the power of others? So I think it's crucial. And so to put it in another way, I think the most common problem in facilitation is the inattention to power, and the idea that all you need is love. I think this is incorrect. I understand where it comes from. It comes because we're worried about the degenerate side of power, so we go to the opposite and focus on connection and horizontality and the way in which we're all part of a larger whole. Those are all related to love, but which is an important balance. But to go to the other extreme means that we're just one big warm blob that never moves anywhere. Yeah. And I think it's a real deficiency in facilitation. So this is another one of these polarities. And the point about a polarity is you can't choose just one pole. It's always an error to choose either power or love, either being apart or apart, either directing or accompanying, either advocating or inquiring. You have to work with both. And I would argue that that's actually the main skill of a facilitator, is to hold these key polarities, of which power and love is one of, if not the most basic.
Thank you so much, Adam, for being with us today. It's been really, really interesting. And also thank you to all of those watching and listening. I hope you've enjoyed our conversation. I also hope you're inspired, and I'm sure you have your own views on Adam and my conversation. If you'd like to take part in that wider conversation, please feel absolutely free to post your comments on the Wilson Sherriff YouTube site, or connect with us on Twitter using @CarolSherriff and @AdamKahane. I really look forward to hearing from you.